in that Vietnamese city of Da Nang, as we mentioned, for the 25th APEC leaders meeting. President Xi is set to deliver a speech this afternoon on the key steps to integrate the Asia-Pacific economy and how to deal with the fresh challenges related to regional economic well-being. The Chinese president will then attend a gala in the evening. The APEC leaders meeting will run for 2 days from November 10th to the 11th. Apart from attending the leaders meeting, President Xi is also in Vietnam for an official state visit. He has written an article for Vietnam's The People newspaper entitled A New Dimension in China-Vietnam Relations. His article notes the long history of cooperation and friendship between the two countries. With both nations entering a new era, President Xi writes that China and Vietnam will seek to deepen diplomatic relationships, adding that the two countries face new but similar challenges amid the current global and regional climate. As neighboring countries, China and Vietnam will seek to deepen cooperation in regional peacekeeping, strengthen diplomatic ties, and further explore areas of potential business cooperation. Now, during his trip to Vietnam, the Chinese president will continue to promote an Asian free trade zone and strengthen regional connectivity in the Asia-Pacific region. China has been an active participant in APEC meetings, so let's take a look at some of China's initiatives over the past 3 years at those meetings. In 2014, China hosted the APEC Economic Leaders Week in Beijing. At the conclusion of the Economic Leaders Week, Chinese President Xi Jinping called the endorsement of a roadmap towards a vast free trade area in the Asia-Pacific region a, quote, historic step. President Xi also laid out his vision of a Chinese-driven Asia-Pacific dream in a speech to business leaders. At the 2015 APEC CEO Summit in Manila, the Chinese president put forward a 4-point proposal for the region to steer the giant ship of the Asia-Pacific economy in the right direction. In a keynote speech, he urged for concentrated efforts to speed up the construction of the free trade area of the Asia-Pacific, also known by its acronym of FTAAP, and boost the openness of the Asia-Pacific economy. Last year in Peru, President Xi actively promoted the Beijing-backed Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. It's a trade deal aiming to reduce tariffs on goods and services. So, for more analysis on the APEC meetings, let's talk to Professor Liu Baocheng, Dean of the Center for International Business Ethics at the University of International Business and Economics, and current affairs commentator Einar Tangen. So, both of you, thank you for being with us today. Professor, I want to get your thoughts. What do we expect to hear from President Xi today?
Well, I think that's going to present a stark contrast with what the speech that was delivered by Donald Trump. And President Xi, I would anticipate that he would emphasize on inclusiveness, on the stabilization of the Asian-Pacific region, and in which all the members will be able to contribute, and also the respect of the diversity of both in culture, the economic development level, and different ideology is not really what is considered to be the like-minded, but the diversity that can really bring beauty, and how to harness this diversity into the one direction that is going there for prosperity and stability. So, of course, I would also anticipate that the One Belt, One Road program will be highlighted in his speech, in which it's really inclusive.
It's a huge initiative. Absolutely. It's a huge initiative for President Xi. And so, Einar, let me bring you into this conversation here. We just heard from President Trump, a slightly angry, bold speech, basically saying that America has been robbed all of these years. How do you think that's going to compare to President Xi's words?
Well, once again, I think President Xi will be talking about opportunities. He'll be saying that multilateralism and cooperation are the only way forward. So it's going to be a direct counterpoint to what Xi said. He's not going to he's going to talk about China and how it has developed and under what kind of terms, and that these are the same ways that these countries can enjoy them. And he's going to talk about the Belt and Road Initiative and the concrete steps that China has been taking to make this thing happen. But he's also selling a vision of the world in which he needs the rest of these countries to join together to take advantage of these opportunities. I don't think he's going to take the playground bully approach by saying, if you don't give me your lunch money, I'm going to beat you up type of thing. I think he's going to be exactly the opposite. He's going to say, look, we are neighbors. We're not going away from each other. There are different paths to prosperity. Let us take one together. Very different from Donald Trump.
And you mentioned that, go ahead.
I think it's going to give due respect to the multilateralism shaped by WTO. But in the meantime, he is also open for regional integration, which takes more of those specifics into those members' countries into consideration. So instead of totally out there to forsake and criticize the WTO, that was really much of their own making by the United States, and also that the mutual interest is something that is a very much highlight. From the message I read from the speech, just a while ago by Donald Trump, is that as long as I buy things from you, I'm doing you a favor. It's really a reciprocal trade issue. So therefore, the sort of win-win situation is really something that President Xi wanted to reassure the world and also its neighbors.
It's a very different perspective between these two leaders, without question. So we're going to talk about this today, and when President Xi does speak in about 10 minutes or so, we're expecting, we'll bring that to you live. But for more, let's go live to our reporter, Tian Wei, who is at the meeting there. So, Tian Wei, I know you just hosted a CEO Summit this morning. Some prominent countries and business leaders had some very interesting things to talk about. So tell me more about that.
Yes, indeed. The 3-day CEO Summit for APEC is actually the highlight of the whole week. And also, of course, people are listening very closely to the leaders' speeches. This morning, I had a panel with the newly coming into the office New Zealand Prime Minister, together with the 3 business leaders from the Asia-Pacific region. People are asking the question, exactly, how are we going to bring vitality? And where is the future? People trying to answer those questions coming from the past 2 days, but not really coming to a conclusion. Some say technology. Some say, well, maybe you have an action plan. But it seems at the end of the day, none of this would work with the recent fierce debate of ideologies such as anti-globalization, nationalism, things like that. So it seems that people are looking forward to something more than that, which is, as many of them beautifully articulated this morning, take politics out of the business, take politics out of the economic reforms that we are about to do in all these economies. That is really the solution. Of course, people are going to listen very closely to what Chinese President Xi Jinping will have to say later, in just about 10 minutes from now, in his speech delivery to the audience here. The whole convention center here for the APEC CEO Summit is absolutely 100% packed for that speech.
Yeah, it's highly anticipated, without question. Now, as you know, President Trump just wrapped up his tour in Beijing and just addressed the APEC meeting there. So how will China-U.S. bilateral ties affect the regional economy in Asia-Pacific?
That is a very important question you asked. The impact, in fact, right before the Chinese President Xi Jinping to give his speech, President U.S. Donald Trump just gave his. And in fact, he's been starting by praising many of the economies in the Asia-Pacific region, suggesting they have come a long way and suggesting the United States want to be, quote, friends, partners, and allies of all these economies for future to come. And yet, he's also very clear in his offering of compliments to his Chinese host. He said in Beijing he had a great trip. He also praised China's great market reform, job creation, 800 million people out of poverty. And he talked about great and productive meetings with the Chinese president. But yet, at the end of his speech, he was talking about, once again, America first. And he advised every country to go their country first without providing much action plan and solutions, particularly ways to reduce trade deficit, particular ways to create jobs. So I think this is really building high for the Chinese president, for the last speaker of the day, to provide the solutions. The people are looking at the Belt and Road initiatives, Malaysian Prime Minister, together with Papua New Guinea Prime Minister, in their panel, both of them mentioned repeatedly about the Belt and Road Initiative initiated by China. And they were also saying they are anticipating to listen to Chinese President Xi Jinping's speech in the afternoon. Meanwhile, people are looking at China's achievement and say, what kind of things China has done? What kind of roadmap they have drawn up? And can we learn from that? I'm sure President Xi is likely to roll out many of the things China has done, but more importantly, China will do with the partners, as China is talking about a global community of shared future. That is the theme of this conference, and certainly the theme likely coming from the Chinese president. People are all anxiously waiting and excitedly waiting.
Yeah, it does seem that President Xi is more outwardly focused at the moment, without question. Tian-Wei, thank you so much for that perspective. We'll check in with you later. Let's turn back to our guest then to talk more about that. I mean, she does raise a good point that there is complaints and concerns that President Trump is complaining about trade deals. He's very unhappy, but he's not necessarily presenting much of an action plan or presenting so many solutions. I mean, Einar, what do you make of that?
Well, I mean, that's part of the thing. He's a situational person, and he's looking for a situational gain. I mean, he's not trying to solve everyone's problems. He's just simply saying that I'm not going to, take it anymore. And remember, every time Donald Trump has gone abroad, he is playing not to the world, but to his base. And his base is absolutely going to eat up that he told the rest of the world off. But he said, I don't like multilateralism. All of these things were bad. We lost. They are going to absolutely love it.
But I have to interrupt because he also had very kind words for President Xi and for China after months of campaigning, criticizing.
Okay, but listen, we're all used to the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde act that goes on not only within his administration, but within him on a day-to-day basis. I mean, he went from thanking Xi Jinping for a wonderful visit, his wife is still here, to firing basically a load of machine gun bullets at China indirectly during his speech, talking about freedom of navigation, talking about centralized economy, state-owned enterprises. Yeah. Everything of them was a bang, 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 centering directly on China. So, I mean, this is the way that he acts. This is the way that he has conducted his business in the past, and it will continue to be the way he conducts his presidency. So the question is, how do you read between the lines? Has Navarro won, or has Mattis won? I mean, is there a rationality? Is there something in between? This is the problem. We don't know. And the uncertainty, because he doesn't mention these details, continues. And this is going to be one of the stark contrasts when Xi Jinping gets up there. If he's able to deliver the roadmap, talk about predictability, as he did in his speech here, 30 years into the future, it's going to be a stark choice. Now remember, it is not up to us, pundits and media. It's going to be up to the countries who are listening to this and deciding what is best for their future, concerning the threats or looking at the opportunities.
Professor, your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, he presented an image that with the multilateral trading framework that the United States was the worst victim. But, now he comes back to lecture to the Asian members that now I had enough is enough. But what is there, to provide a solution? He talks about, a half century later, he talks about the, star constellation. But what is really the roadmap? What are really the most rational, the milestones that we can really set forth? So it seems that, this is more political than, realistic, not to mention about economic. And the other is that economic security is really now being a sort of expanded version of the U.S. security, of the U.S. first. So that really sends a very threatening signal to the members over there. And then, I think the whole gist of this one is really to look for a deepened regional integration. But what is the role of the U.S.? And he doesn't even, touch upon this very basic topic, which is really highly expected. Yes or no, and when. So, this is really a disappointing one.
Well, another topic he kept on, well, another term he kept on repeatedly referring to is the Indo-Pacific region. So I want to get your thoughts on that as well. The idea is that that is to contain a rising China. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the U.S., most of the U.S. Elites are content with, okay, China being the big one on the land of Asia. But, you know, being a stronger guy in the ocean, it's something that the U.S. cannot really tolerate. But now the Belt and Road program, particularly the maritime road, is really posing something itchy to what is perceived as the hawkish circle in the United States. So the Indo-Pacific, instead of pivotal to Asia, you know, as opposed by Obama administration, is there, you know, to contain China on the expensive the path for China to grow in the Pacific region with the South China Sea issue, and also with the Indian Ocean going on, also with the economic corridor in the southern west part of China. So right now it is still a conceptual note, but this might be a momentum that can be really turned into a strategy that can further, if not contain, but to rival with China.
And Einar, do you think that's a realistic strategy, being that the United States could work more closely with Japan, Australia, India to try to provide a counter voice to China?
Well, I don't actually think it's going to work, and especially after this particular meeting. I mean, this strategy harkens back to 2010 white paper that was put out and is still operational within the U.S. Circles. And it says that we will use India as a doorstop to contain China's expansion. And that's there. I don't know how India feels about being pitted against China. And especially given what has just been said here today by Donald Trump and his worldview. This is not what India needs. India needs is an emerging, developing nation. They do not need an end to multilateralism. They need open markets. They need all the things that Donald Trump says now he is against. And what is in it? Is he offering anything? Did he said, in exchange for this worldview, we are going to do it? Yes, he said, well, we're going to encourage the ADB and the world and the IMF to do something. But that's, and he says the U.S. will play its part. But he didn't put any numbers in it. There are no milestones. There are no grand vision about how all of this fits together and who will benefit from it. Basically, he's holding the sword of Damocles over everybody's head, saying, cooperate or else. And I don't know that this is going to be received well anywhere.
Well, do we even know what the or else is?
The or else is very simply that you will not be able to trade with the United States. But this is becoming less and less important in the world. If this is 20 years ago, this would have been a significant threat. But today, in 156 countries, China surpasses the U.S. as the #1 trade relationship. So things have changed dramatically, and I don't know that Donald Trump understands that. This is not a unipolar world. It is not a bipolar world. It is a multilateral one.
And meanwhile, Professor, China is very clear of where it stands on the world stage and the potential it has.
Yeah, so on the U.S. side, you know, I totally agree with Anna that the bargaining chip is no longer comparable with something that is 30 years ago even. And plus that those constituencies that supported him on the way to the office, they need to maintain a basic quality of life, which is more reliant on trading with Asia, with China. And on the other side, that China has been really contributing to more than 30% of the whole world growth. And you know, however, you know, China is positioned legalistically speaking in terms of the regional integration in Asia and the reliance on China, the interdependence between the member countries are there that they can never be substituted by whatever rhetorics that Donald Trump can really put forward.
So besides global trade conflict and some political uncertainty, some countries in the region are looking for an alternative. APEC region has a goal to achieve innovation economic growth by the year 2025. And as I speak, it looks like we're seeing some movement there at the hall there. Again, we are waiting for President Xi Jinping to speak to the congregation here. We will deliver that speech to you live. as soon as it begins. In the meantime, let me finish that question, Professor. Economic innovation growth by the year 2025, and there he is, President Xi, walking into the room. That's the moment we've been waiting for. Following remarks from President Trump just a few moments ago, where President Trump certainly called the World Trade Organization unfair body, blasting current trade deals with the United States, asking for a lot more in return, saying that America has been treated unfairly in the years since. President Xi likely to strike a very different tone here when he speaks to this delegation here live from Da Nang, Vietnam at the APEC meeting.
President Xi Jinping of the People's Republic of China to be here and deliver a keynote address to the APEC CEO Summit. 2 weeks ago, the Communist Party of China concluded its successful 19th National Congress. At the Congress, general principles and action guidelines were laid out for China's development going forward. It is a Congress of milestone significance. As a major engine for global economy, China's development is having growing implications for our region and beyond. So what major steps and new opportunities will a growing China present to the Asia-Pacific and the world? And what new efforts will China make to promote economic cooperation in the Asia-Pacific? Let us find answers to these questions from the following keynote address. May I suggest a round of applause for His Excellency President Xi Jinping. Chairman Wu Tianluo, leaders of the APEC business community, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, good afternoon. I am pleased to come to Da Nang and meet all of you again. Da Nang is indeed a beautiful city. On my way here from the airport, I'm deeply impressed by the beautiful scenery. Our region, the Asia-Pacific, has the biggest share of the global economy. It is a major engine driving global growth. The business community is a primary contributor to growth as it keeps exploring new ways of development. That is why, during the APEC Economic Leaders meeting over the last several years, I have always taken time to meet business leaders and discuss with you approaches and measures to address the challenges we face. It has been 10 years since the international financial crisis broke out. Over the last decade, the international community have worked in concert to steer the global economy back to the track of recovery. Thanks to our efforts, the global economy is now improving. Despite risks and uncertainties, global trade and investment are picking up. People are more optimistic about the outlook of financial markets, and confidence is growing in all sectors. Development is a journey with no end. It has one new departure point after another. An ancient Chinese philosopher once observed, "We should focus our mind on the future, not the past." We live in a fast-changing world. The global economy is undergoing more profound changes. We must therefore closely follow the trend of the global economy, identify its underlying dynamics, keep to the right direction, and on that basis, take bold action. We are seeing a profound change in growth drivers. Countries are turning to reform and innovation to meet challenges and achieve growth. The potential of structural reforms is being unlocked and its positive impact of boosting growth of countries around the world has become more evident. A new round of technological and industrial revolutions is gaining momentum. Digital economy and sharing economy have registered rapid growth. New industries, as well as new business forms and models, are flourishing. As a result, new growth drivers are being created. We are seeing a profound change in the model of global growth. As time advances, development has taken on profoundly richer implications. The vision of innovative, coordinated, green and open development for all is gaining increasing public support. To achieve more comprehensive, higher quality and more sustainable development has become the shared goal of the international community. To implement the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and adapt to climate change and other challenges of a global nature has become an important international consensus. We are seeing a profound change in economic globalization. Over the last few decades, economic globalization has contributed significantly to global growth. Indeed, it has become an irreversible historical trend. Against the backdrop of evolving global developments, economic globalization also faces new adjustments in both form and substance. In pursuing economic globalization, we should make it more open, more inclusive, more balanced, more equitable, and more beneficial to all. We are seeing a profound change in the system of global economic governance. The evolving global economic environment demands more from the system of global economic governance. We should uphold multilateralism, pursue shared growth through consultation and collaboration, forge closer partnerships, and build a community with a shared future for mankind. This, I believe, is what we should do in conducting global economic governance in a new era. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, faced with the profound changes in the global economy, should we, the Asia-Pacific economies, lead reform and innovation, or should we hesitate and proceed haltingly? Should we steer economic globalization, or should we dither and stall in the face of challenge? Should we jointly advance regional cooperation, or should we go our separate ways? Here is my answer. We must advance with the trend of the times, live up to our responsibility, and work together to deliver a bright future of development and prosperity for the Asia-Pacific. First, we should continue to foster an open economy that benefits all. Openness brings progress, while self-seclusion leaves one behind. We, the Asia-Pacific economies, know this too well from our own development experience. We should put in place a regional cooperation framework that ensures consultation among equals, wide participation, and shared benefits. We should build an open Asia-Pacific economy and promote trade and investment liberalization and facilitation. We should make economic globalization more open, inclusive, and balanced so that it can benefit different countries and people of different social groups. We should proactively adapt to the evolving international division of labor and actively reshape the global value chain. so as to upgrade our economies and build up new strengths.
我们要支持多边贸易
We
体
should
制，
support the multilateral
坚持开放的
trading
区域主
regime
义，
and practice
帮助
open
发展中成员
regionalism
更多地从国际贸
to
易
allow
和投资
developing
中
members to
受益。
benefit more from international trade and investment.
建成亚太自由贸易
The
区
building of a free trade
是
area
亚
of
太
the
工
Asia
商界
Pacific
多年的梦想。
is a long-cherished dream of the business
2006
community in our region.
正是在工商界的呼吁
It
下，
was in response to the call
亚
of
太经
the
合组织
business
成员领导
community
人是
that
在
APEC
河内
leaders initiated
首次把建设
the
亚太自由
AFTAB
贸易
vision
区
in
确
Hanoi
定为
in
远景目标的。
2006.
2014年，
Then in
我们在北
2014,
京启动亚
the
太
AFTAB
自
process
由贸易区
was
进程，
launched in Beijing.
我们应该行动起来，
We must get into
全面
action,
深入落实北
fully
京路线图，
implement the Beijing roadmap,
向着建成亚太自由贸易
Move
区的目
toward
标
the
不
AFTAB
断迈进，为开放
and
型亚
provide
太
an
经济
institutional
提供
underpinning
机制保
for
障
an。open economy in the Asia Pacific.
第二，
Second,
继续谋求
we
创新
should
增长，
continue to pursue
发掘
innovation-driven
发展新
development
动能。
and create new drivers of growth.
当前
The
世界
current
经济
global
回稳，
economic recovery
周
is
期性的因素
largely
发
driven
挥了很大的
by
作
cyclical factors,
用，内生动力不足的
and
顽
the
疾
lack of self-generating
并未消除。
driving forces remains a nagging
世
problem.
界经济彻底摆脱
To
新
avoid
平庸
the
的
risk
风险，
of the global economy
只
entering
能
a
向
new
创新
mediocre,
要动力。
we must sustain growth through innovation.
我们正迎来新一轮的科技
The
和产
new
业
round
革
of
命。
technological and industrial
数字经济、
revolutions is
共享
unfolding
经
before
济
us.
在全球
The
范围
digital
内
economy
掀起了浪潮，
and sharing economy
人
are
工智
taking the
能、
world by
量子科
storm.
学等新技术不断取得突破。
Breakthroughs have been made
亚太
in
不能
new
等待
technologies such as artificial intelligence and quantum science.
我们应该
We
抢
cannot
抓机遇，
afford to act
加
like
大创新
onlookers. What we should do is to
转变发展方式，
seize the
培育新的
opportunity, increase input
经济
in
增长点。
innovation, change development
要
model,
积极推
and
进
nurture new
结
growth
构性
areas.
改革，
We should promote structural
消除一
reform
切
and
不
remove
利于
all
创新的体制机制障碍，
institutional and systematic
激发市场活力。
barriers to innovation, and to
要落实好北京会
energize the
议
market.
经
We
济
should
创新
implement
发
the
展、改
APEC
革和
Accord
增长
on
共识，
innovative development,
深化互
economic
联网
reform and
和
growth
数字
adopted
经济
in
合作，
Beijing. We need to deepen
引领
cooperation
全球
on the
创新
internet
发展
and
的
digital
方向。
economy and strive to be a global leader of
第
innovative
三
growth.
继续加强互
Third,
联
we
互
should
通，
continue to
实现
enhance
联
connectivity
通发展
and。achieve interconnected development.
联动发展是对
Interconnected
互利共赢
development
理念的最
is
好的
the
诠
best
释。
way to achieve
亚太
mutual
经济
benefit
体
and win-win
利益
outcomes.
交融，
We, the Asia
联系
Pacific
紧密，
economies, are closely
坚持
connected
联动发展，
and our
既
interests
能为
are
伙伴提
interlocked.
供发展动力，
Through interconnected
也能为
development,
自
a
身
new
创造
vista will
更
be
大的
opened
发
up
展空
for our
间。
respective development, while
2014年
a strong
我们
boost
制
will be
定完成了
given
亚太
to the
经合
common
组织
development of our
互
partners.
联互通的
In
蓝图。
2014, the APEC connectivity
我们要以
blueprint
蓝
was
图为指引，
formulated. This
建立
blueprint
全
should
方
be
位多
our
层
guide
次、
in
复合
building a
型的
comprehensive,
亚太互联互
all-round
通网
and
络。
multi-tiered network of
我
Asia
们要充分
Pacific
发挥互联互
connectivity.
通对实体
We
经
should
济的
boost
辐
the
射，
real economy
和带动作
through
用，
greater connectivity,
打破发展瓶
break
颈，
bottlenecks
释
to
放发展
development,
潜力，
and unlock
形成协
potentials.
调、联
Through
动
these
发展的
efforts,
格
we
局。
can achieve coordinated and interconnected development.
今年5月，
In May this year,
“一带一路”国际合作
the
峰会
Belt
论
and
坛
Road Forum
在北
for
京
International
成
Cooperation
功举办，
was successfully held in
共
Beijing.
建“一带一路”倡议的
The
核
Belt
心
and
内
Road
涵
Initiative is a joint
就是促进
endeavor with a clear
基础
focus
设施
on
建设
promoting
和互联互
infrastructure
通，
development and
加
connectivity,
强经济政策
on
协调，
strengthening coordination,
和发展
on
战略对
economic
接，
policies,
促进协同
on
联动发
enhancing
展，实
complementarity
现
of
共
development
同繁荣。
strategies, and on boosting interconnected development
这一
for
倡
common
议
prosperity.
源自中国，
This initiative
更属于
is from
世界。
China, but it belongs to the world.
根植于历史，
It is rooted in
更面
history,
向未来，
but it is oriented toward the
重
future.
点面向
It focuses
亚欧
on
非
the
大陆，
Asian, European, and
更向
African
所有伙伴
continents,
开放。
but it is open to all other
我相
partners.
信， 共建“一带一路”
I
倡
am
议的深入
confident
推
that
进
the，launch of the Belt and
将
Road
为亚太各
Initiative
方提供
will
更加
create a
广阔、
broader
更有
and
活
a more
力的
dynamic
合作
platform
平台
for。Asia-Pacific cooperation.
第四，
Fourth,
继续增强经济发
we
展
should
的包
continue
容
to
性，
make economic
让民
development
众
more inclusive
共享发
and
展
deliver
成果
its benefits to our people.
当前，经济全球化进程
The current
遭遇逆风，
headwinds confronting economic
一个重要原
globalization
因
is
是发展
mostly
的
generated
包容
by
性
the
不足，
lack of inclusiveness in development.
让不同国家、不同阶层
If we are
都
to
能享受
bring
发展
the
红利，
benefits of development to countries
让美好
across
的
the
愿
globe
景
and
变
people
为现
across
实，
our society and
仍
turn
需要
our
做
vision
出
into
不懈的努
reality,
力。
then hard work is still needed.
过去几年啊，
Over the past few
我们围
years,
绕包容发展进行
we
了
have
积极探索
actively，explored ways to
有了
promote
坚实的
inclusive
共识基础。
development and have built strong consensus
我
about
们要
it.
结合区域经济一
We
体化
should
的深入推
deepen
进，
regional economic
做大
integration,
开放、普
develop
惠的
an
市场，
open and
做强
inclusive
利益共
market,
享的链
and
条。
strengthen the bond of shared
我们要把
interests.
包容共享理念
We should
融入
make
发展战略，
inclusiveness and sharing
努
a
力
part
健
of
全
our
讲求
development
效率，
strategies.
注重
Improve
公平
systems and
的
institutions
体制机
that
制，
uphold efficiency
维
and
护
fairness
社会公平
and
正义。
safeguard social equity and justice.
我们要在教育、
We should invest
医疗、
more in
就业等民
education,
生领域
medical care,
加大投入，
employment, and other areas
解决
that are
好贫
important
困、
to people's
收
livelihood.
入
We
差
need
距
to address
拉大问题。
poverty and the widening gap between
我
the
们要
rich
加大
and
对
the
弱势
poor.
群体的
We
扶持
should
力度，
reach out
改
to
善中小微企
disadvantaged
业
groups,
发展
improve
环境，
the business environment
增
for
强劳
micro,
动
small,
者
and medium-sized
适应产
enterprises,
业变革
and
的
enable
能
the
力。
workforce to better adapt to industrial transformation.
让人人拥有机
This
遇
way,
享有成
everyone
果。
can have his fair share of opportunity and
女士们、先
benefits.
生们、朋友们，
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends,
口
as an
言
old
之
Chinese saying goes,
身必
a
行之，
commitment once made should be
实现
delivered.
亚太更大发展，
Boosting development
需
in
要
the
每个成
Asia-Pacific
员脚踏
requires
实地，
real
拿出
actions
行动。
by all the
作为
members.
全球第二大经
As
济
the world's second largest
中
economy,
国深知自
China
身肩
knows
负的责
fully
任。
well its
过
responsibility.
去5年，
Over the
我
past
们主动
5
适应
years,
把握、
we
引
have
领
taken
经
proactive
济新
steps
常
to
态，
adapt to manage
深入
and
推
steer the
进
new normal
供
of
给侧
China's
结构性改
economy
革，
and deepened
保
supply
持经
side
济稳
structural
中
reform.
向好。
As a result,
稳中有进。
China's economy has maintained steady performance,
推动中国发展不断向着
and we are
更高质
pursuing
量、
better
更有
quality,
效率、
more
更
efficient,
加公平、
fairer,
更可持续
and
的
more
方向迈进。
sustainable development.
过去的4年，
Over the past 4
中国
years,
经济平均增长率
China's economy
为
has grown
7.2%，
by 7.2%
对
on
世界
average
经济增
annually,
长的平均贡献率
contributing
超过
over
30%，
30% of
成为
global
世界经
growth.
济的主要动力
China
源。
is now a main driver powering global growth.
我们通过全面深化改革，破除
We have
妨碍
worked
发
hard
展的
to
体制机制
remove
障碍，
systematic and
推出了
institutional
360
barriers
个
that impede
重大
development
改革方
through
案，
comprehensive reform.
1500多
As
项
many as
改革举措，
360 major reform initiatives
一批
and
重
more
要
than
领域和关键环节
1,500
改革
reform
取得
measures
了
have
突
been
破性
taken.
进展。
Breakthroughs have been made
主要
in
领域
key
改革主
areas.
体框架基
General
本确立，
frameworks for reform have
我
been
们加
put
快
in
构建
place
开
in
放
major
型经济的
sectors.
新体制，
We have stepped up
转变对外
efforts
贸易
to
和投
build
资方
new
式，
institutions of the
继
open
续推动
economy
对外
and
贸易由
transform
量的
models
扩
of
张
foreign trade
转
and
向
outbound
质的提
investment
升。
to continue the shift from quantitative to
我们
qualitative
全方位推
improvement
进
in trade.
理论创
We
新、
have advanced
实践创新、
theoretical, practical,
创新、
institutional,
文化创新
cultural,
以及其他各
and
方面
other
的创新，
explorations
不断释放
to
增长的
unleash
新动力。
new impetus for growth.
中国正成为各种创新要素
China has
发
become
挥积
a
极效应
huge
的
platform
广阔平台。
where all factors and players of
无论基
innovation
础设施还是
converge
经
to
济
make
业
a
态
real，difference. from infrastructure to various economic sectors, from business models to ways of consumption, innovation is leading the way. We have pursued a people-centered philosophy of development to make our development more inclusive and beneficial to all. Individual income has registered sustained growth, outpacing GDP growth for many years. Income gaps between urban and rural areas and between different regions have been narrowing, middle income group expanding, and Gini coefficient dropping. More than 13 million new urban jobs have been created every year for 4 consecutive years. Significant advances have been made in pursuing green development, resulting in considerable reduction in the intensity of energy and resource consumption and marked improvement in the ecological environment. To lift all the remaining poor people out of poverty is a solemn commitment made by the Chinese government to the people. It is uppermost in my mind, and I have spent more energy on poverty alleviation than anything else. Over the past 5 years, I have been to many poor areas in China to pin down the causes of poverty and address these problems in a targeted way. As a result, decisive progress has been made in the fight against poverty. Over the past 5 years, we have lifted more than 60 million people out of poverty. The poverty headcount ratio has declined, and per capita rural income in poor areas has maintained double-digit growth. This has not come easily, and we are proud of what we've achieved in poverty alleviation. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, China's development is an evolving historical process. Last month, the 19th National Congress of the Communist Party of China was successfully convened in Beijing. Responding to our people's desire for a better life, the Party Congress formulated a guide to action and the development blueprint for China in the new era. It is envisaged that by 2020, China will turn itself into a moderately prosperous society in all respects. And by 2035, China will basically realize socialist modernization. By the middle of this century, China will become a great modern socialist country that is prosperous, strong, democratic, culturally advanced, harmonious, and beautiful. Under the leadership of the Communist Party of China, the Chinese people will embark on a new journey. First, this is a new journey of deepening reform across the board and unleashing dynamism for development. To resolve difficulties and problems on the way forward, we must deepen all-round reform. We must focus more on resolving problems, get rid of all outdated thinking and ideas and all institutional elements, and break through the blockades of vested interests to inspire creativity and vitality throughout society. We will develop a set of institutions that are well conceived, fully built, procedure-based, and efficiently functioning, and achieve modernization of China's system and capacity for governance. Next year, we will celebrate the 40th anniversary of China's launching of the Reform and Opening Up Initiative. China's reform will cover more areas, and more and stronger steps will be taken in pursuing this endeavor. Second, this is a new journey of moving with the times and exploring new model of development. China's economy is in a transition from a phase of rapid growth to a stage of high-quality development. Will be guided by a new development philosophy, put quality first, give priority to performance, and develop a modernized economy. We will pursue supply-side structural reform as our main task, work hard to achieve better quality and higher efficiency performance, and create more robust growth through reform. We will raise total factor productivity and accelerate the building of an industrial system that promotes coordinated development of the real economy with technological innovation, modern finance, and a talent pool. We will endeavor to develop an economy with more effective market mechanisms, dynamic micro-entities, and sound macro regulation. All these efforts will make China's economy more innovative and competitive. We will promote further integration of the Internet, big data, and artificial intelligence with the real economy, and cultivate new drivers of growth in digital economy, sharing economy, clean energy, and other areas. We will continue to explore new mechanisms and pathways for achieving coordinated development among regions, promote coordinated development of the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei region, Yangtze Economic Belt, Xiong'an New Area, and Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area, build world-class city clusters, and foster new source of growth. As China works hard to pursue innovation and a higher quality of growth, new forms of business will keep emerging. New innovations will be applied, and development of various regions in China will become more balanced. All this will create a more powerful and extensive impact, present more opportunities of cooperation, and enable more countries to board the express train of China's development. Third, this is a new journey toward greater integration with the world and an open economy of higher standards. China will not slow its steps in opening up itself. We will work together with other countries to create new drivers of common development through the launching of the Belt and Road Initiative. We will adopt policies to promote high-standard liberalization and facilitation of trade and investment. We will implement the system of pre-establishment national treatment plus a negative list across the board, significantly ease market access, further open the service sector, and protect legitimate rights and interests of foreign investors. All businesses registered in China will be treated as equals. Grant more powers to pilot free trade zones to conduct reform and explore the opening of free trade ports. We will speed up negotiations with partner countries on the concluding of free trade agreements and investment treaties, advance the building of FTAP, work for the speedy conclusion of RCEP negotiations, and endeavor to establish a global network of free trade areas. In the next 15 years, China will have an even larger market and more comprehensive development. It is estimated that China will import $24 trillion worth of goods, attract $2 trillion inbound direct investments, and make $2 trillion outbound investment. In November
我们
next
将在
year,
上海举办首届
China will hold
中国
the
国际
first
进口博览
China
会，
International
这
Import
将为各
Expo
方
in
进
Shanghai,
行开辟中国市场
which
的
will
合作
provide a new
搭建一个
platform
新的
for
平台。
expanding cooperation in China's market among all
第四，
parties.
这是以
Fourth,
人民为中心，
this is a new journey
迈向美好生活的新征
toward
程，
a better life for the people.
让人民过上好日子，是我们一切
To
工作
secure
的
a
出发
better
点和
life
落脚
for
点。
our people is what we aim to achieve in everything we do.
我们将坚持在发展中
We
保
will
障和改
ensure
善民
and
生，
improve
不
living
断满
standards
足人民日
through
益增长
development
的美
and
好
meet
生活需要，
people's ever-growing
不断促
needs
进
for a
社
better
会
life.
公平正义，
We will continue to
使
promote
人民
social
获得感、
fairness and
幸福
justice,
感、
to
安全
see
感
that
更
our
加完
people
善
will always
更有
have
保
a
障
strong sense of
更可持
gains,
续。
happiness, and
我们
security.
将继续推进精准
We will continue to implement targeted poverty
精准
reduction and alleviation measures,
实现到2020年
and ensure that by
我
the
国
year
现行标准下
2020,
的农村贫困人口脱贫的目
all
标，
rural residents
全
living
面建
below
成
the
小康
current
社会
poverty line will
13
be
亿多中
lifted
国人
out of poverty.
我们是一
Each
个都
and
不能
every
少。
one of the over 1.3 billion Chinese should lead decent lives. No one will be left behind.
We 我们将加快生态文明
We
体
will
制改
speed
革，
up reform of the
坚
system
持走
for
绿
ecological
色、低
conservation,
碳，
pursue
可
green,
持续发展
low
制度，
carbon, and sustainable
实行最
development,
严格的生态
and
环境
implement the
保
most
护制度。
strict possible systems
到
for
2035
environmental protection.
中国
By
的生态环境
2035,
将根本好
there will
转，
be a fundamental
美丽中
improvement
国目
in the
标
environment.
将基本实
The
现。
goal of building a beautiful
我们将
China
积
will
极
be
应对气
basically
候变化，
attained.
保
We
护
will
好人类
actively
赖以生
tackle
存的
climate
共
change
同家
and
园。
protect our common home
中国
for the sake of human
二氧化
survival.
碳排放
China's carbon
将于
dioxide emission
2030年左
is
右
expected to
达到峰
peak
值，
around
并争取
2030,
尽
and we
早
will
达
make
峰。
every effort for such
非
emissions
化
to
石
reach
能
the
源
peak
占
ahead
一
of
次
time. We
能
will
源消费
increase the
比
share of
重
non-fossil
将达到
fuels in
20%
primary energy
左右。
consumption to around
只要是认
20%
准
by
了的事情，
2030.
我们都
Once
会
we set a
坚
target,
持不
we
懈
will
地
not stop
做下
our
去。
efforts until it is met.
第五，
Fifth,
这是推动构建新型国际
this
关
is a
系，
new journey
推动
toward a
构
new
建人
type
类
of
命运共
international
同体的新
relations,
征
a
程。
community with a shared future for
中国人民
mankind.
的梦想是同各国
The
人民的
dream
梦
of the
想
Chinese
息
people
息相
is
通
closely
的。
connected with the dreams of
当
people
今
of
世
other
界
countries.
充满挑战，
Our world is full of
前进的道
challenges,
路不会
and
平
the
坦，
road ahead will
但
not
我
be
们不会
smooth.
放弃理想追
But
求
we，will not give up
将
on
以
our
更大的
dream.
作为
We will double
同
our
各方
efforts
携手建
and
设
work with all
持
others
久和
to
平、
build an open,
普遍安全、
inclusive, clean,
共同
and
繁
beautiful
荣、
world that
开放
enjoys
包容、
durable peace,
清洁美丽的世界
universal。security, and common prosperity.
中国人民讲求
We
以和
Chinese
为贵，
believe that peace is
和谐
most
万
precious
邦。
and that there should be
我们将
harmony
坚持
among
走和
all
平发展的
nations.
道路，
We're committed to
始
peaceful
终做世
development,
界和亚
and
太
we
地
will
区的
remain an
和
anchor
平稳定
for
之
peace
锚。
and stability in the
我们
Asia-Pacific
将
region and
秉
beyond.
持正确的义
China
务观，
will, guided by the
积极发展
principle
全
of
球伙伴
upholding
关
justice
系，
while pursuing shared interests,
扩大同各
actively
国
develop
的利
global
益汇合点，
partnerships, expand the
推动
convergence
建
of
设
interests with other
相互
countries,
尊重、
and work to
公
foster
平正
a
义、
new type of
合作
international
共赢的
relations
新型国
featuring
际关系。
mutual respect, fairness,
我们将
justice,
秉持
and win-win cooperation.
共商共建
Acting on the
共享的
principle
理
of
念，
achieving shared growth
积极参与
through
全球
consultation
治理
and
体系改
collaboration,
革
we will
和
get
建设，
actively involved in
推动国
reforming
际
and
政治、
developing the global
经济秩
governance
序
system
朝
to
着更
make
加
the
公正、
international political
合理
and
的方
economic
向发展。
order more just and equitable.
也 女士们、先生们、朋友们，
Ladies and gentlemen, dear
亚
friends,
太的和平、稳定、繁荣属于全体
all of
亚
our
太人
people
民。
in the Asia-Pacific
亚
deserve
太的未
peace,
来要靠
stability, and
亚太人民
prosperity.
携手创
And
造。
all of us in the region should jointly
互信、
deliver a bright future
包容、
for the
合
Asia-Pacific.
作、
Partnerships
共赢的
based
伙伴
on
关系
mutual trust,
是
inclusiveness,
亚太大家
cooperation,
庭的
and
精
mutual
神
benefit.
纽带，
This is what
是
keeps
确保
our big
亚太
Asia-Pacific
合作
family
处在
together
正确
and
轨道
ensures
上
the
的
success of
重要保
Asia-Pacific
障。
cooperation.
让我们脚踏实
Let
地
us
地推
take
进合
solid
作，
steps to
扎
promote
扎实实采
cooperation
取行
and
动，
usher in
共同建设亚
an even
太
brighter
更
future
加美好的
for
明
the
天。
Asia-Pacific.
谢谢大家。
Thank you.
And that is Chinese President Xi Jinping addressing the APEC Economic Leaders Meeting in Da Nang, Vietnam. He spoke of openness, cooperation, free trade, and presented China as a model of development to the world. We're going to take a quick break, but after this, we're going to have analysis of his speech coming up. You're watching CGTN.
People on the go. Businesses grow. Leaders get together.
共享经济全球化的好处。
Looking for a common destiny. Powering strong economies. The APEC 2017 in Vietnam. Creating new dynamism. Fostering a shared future. Catch the live coverage from Da Nang, Vietnam on CGTN.
And as you just heard, Chinese President Xi Jinping delivered a speech at the APEC CEO Summit on key steps to integrate the Asia-Pacific economy and how to deal with